What's going on, everybody? Welcome to After Prison Show. And man, we ain't been filming in front of the green screen for quite some time. We've been super busy. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it feels good to just be able to sit down and, well, I was gonna say relax, but I'm filming this video, so there ain't gonna be too much relax about this. We're about to go hard up in the paint on this video. We've been definitely going hard in the paint, for the last probably 2 weeks at least. A lot of content that we've been trying to put together, a lot of things that we've been doing, and I hope you guys have been enjoying the ride. We've been doing a lot of things with Banky. We've been doing a lot of things with some new people as well. Folks, today I want to share with you guys a video about 10 people that I met in prison that I consider to be pretty interesting people that I probably will never forget. Now, another thing to mention about this is everybody that I'm getting ready to talk about in this video are people that I am probably never going to see again. But they definitely had some sort of an impact on me throughout the time, all of the time, that I served throughout my life. And today I just want to take a little bit of time and talk about these folks. Some of these people we've probably talked about here before on After Prison Show. And even with that, some of you probably have never heard anything about these folks. But I can guarantee you one thing, all 10 making this list are definitely interesting. Hence the fact they've made this list and why we're getting ready to talk about them here today. But with all of that being mentioned, and before we go any further, I do want to take a moment and address the sponsor of this video, an awesome mobile game and PC game by the name of Raid Shadow Legends. Folks, when it comes to a game that you can play on your mobile device, Raid Shadow Legends is most certainly one of my favorite games, and for a number of reasons. This is an action-packed RPG game with what I consider the best graphics. It's easy to get into this game. There is so much that you can do, so many different characters known as champions in this game that you can collect and upgrade in different factions, which are the different types of these characters, their sets, their little kind of like gangs or whatever. This game is a really good game. And one of the top reasons why this game is one of my favorites, there ain't no ads up in this game. No ads in the game. I mean, that's almost unheard of when you think about a game for your mobile device. You can also use my links down below in the descriptions, the exclusive After Prison Show links for this game to download this and check this out for yourself. And again, when it comes to the different champions that you can use and play with in this game, folks, there are many. I got quite a few right here. I'm gonna show you guys some of my favorite champions. Definitely Shaman. She's an orc and she's a level 35. That chick be doing major damage in battle. Another high-powered orc that I've got, Gaelic, right here. He's a level 24, definitely one of my starting 4 anytime we're going up into battle. I've also got a level 30 lizard man, Joza. Look at these graphics, 3D spinning, panorama. I don't know any other mobile games that do anything like what Raid Shadow Legends does, or that looks this good either. I've also got this level 26 demon spawn, sort of looking like the devil right there, Hellgazer. And again, in this game, there are 16 different factions, and all of these different factions, whether it's orcs or lizard men or demon spawns, they've all got a list of their own champions that you can collect and upgrade and use in battle. There's also a new feature that is soon to be available. By the time you guys are seeing this, it might already be available, called the Tag Team Arena. Now, before, you could go into the arena and battle 4 champions against another 4 champions of some other player. Well, now they've got the Tag Team Battle Arena, a new feature which is basically like the arena mode on hard mode. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Joe, playing any games on hard mode, I'm not very good at that. There's so much that you can do in Raid Shadow Legends, whether you just want to do the campaign mode, you want to go up into that arena, or you want to do a factions war, or even brave the dungeons. This game can certainly provide you guys hours of entertainment, and again, no in-game ads. That's a major plus from me. If you guys want to find me on Raid Shadow Legends, you can find me under the username Joe P. Guerrero. And again, if you use the exclusive After Prison Show link down in the descriptions, you're going to be able to download Raid Shadow Legends for free, whether on your mobile device or on PC. And new players to this game, when you use this link, you're gonna get hooked up with 500,000 silver and a free champion, the Hex Weaver. And it's right up here in your gold chest where you're gonna be able to find those rewards. So folks, what are you waiting for? Use that link down below in the descriptions and download for free Raid Shadow Legends. A very special shout out to that game for sponsoring this video. And it's with all of that being mentioned that what do you say we go ahead and we do? I was trying to dance right there. I'm not a good dancer. Head first up into this video. It's super hot in here, but I don't even care. Just the ability to be able to sit here and kick it with you guys and film this video, I'm feeling pretty damn good about that. Folks, I want to share with you guys 10 people that I considered very interesting while I was in prison. And all 10 of these folks I will never forget. Starting first with this very first person, somebody that we talked about a very long time ago here on After Prison Show, and a guy that I met during my first ever bid. Long stretch of incarceration. I wasn't in prison when I met this person. I was in the jail. I was doing 11 months. And you couldn't tell Joe nothing. I was little TTG for life, little Tekashi 6. Wait a minute. I was a convict doing them 11 months at 18 years old up in Chesapeake City Jail. And it was during that time that I ran across this guy that I referred to as Punk Tattoo Guy. Punk Tattoo Guy was an interesting guy that I met in the jail. We had a lot of common interests. The same type of music, same type of books and magazines, except Joe wasn't reading no books. Joe wanted to be a rapper. I wanted to come home and be Eminem or Tekashi. I wanted to come home and do something with the music. Punk Tattoo Guy, even though, you know, we listened to the same type of rock and roll music and I was doing my rapping thing, I liked all type of music. I felt like he had an in for me, like he had a way in for me. Because he told me that he used to work at a radio station that I liked. Now, I don't know what he did there. I can't remember that. And you know, when he told me that he worked at the radio station and the type of music he listened to, that made me not question the tattoo that was right above his heart. Is your heart right here? I don't honestly know. But right above his left pectoral, he had a little crazy like Nirvana face and the word punk tattooed right there on his chest. Now, that term right there can refer to, and it's, you know, kind of not a good term, but it can refer to, you know, certain types of people in prison. It's not a good term. But I didn't really know about that during this time. Maybe other people did. You know, Punk Tattoo Guy would spend a lot of time with me. We would work out together, shirts off, sitting close to each other on the bunk. He would give me things, and he was just a nice guy overall. I look back on this situation in hindsight, and I think to myself, like, you know, I bet you all prisoners were whispering about me. Oh, look at Joe sitting there with Punk Tattoo Guy. Boy, look at that relationship on the blossom. That joint's on the cusp right there. I didn't know. I just thought the guy was a nice guy. I thought he was my friend. Punk Tattoo Guy ended up getting released way before I did. I ended up in the hole. That person that I ended up in the hole for, they're featured in this video as well. I ended up in the hole and I was super depressed, just got my ass kicked, and I got a letter from Punk Tattoo Guy, and it was a crazy letter. He told me, it was like, hey, Joe, look, I don't think you ever really realized, but I'm not exactly straight. And when I read this, it was definitely surprising to me. I didn't think no less of this guy because of, you know, his sexual orientation or anything like that. He was a great guy. And he also sent me $15. And that was something that, you know, was definitely helpful. This guy went home, he sent me $15. I mean, he was a genuine, really good dude. Now, I got out of the hole. I went to another part of the jail. I was down in what was referred to as the dungeon. I'm down in the old side of this jail. And I got a visit one day, and it was Punk Tattoo Guy. I thought it was going to be some ex-girlfriend. I was super pumped up. Yeah, she didn't forget about me. Boy, I got me a VI. I walked up in there. Punk Tattoo Guy was up in that visitation room with the tightest black shirt on I'd ever seen. Muscle shirt? Nah, looked like he was a biker in the Tour de France. Man, I'm sitting on that steel stool in that visitation room with that plexiglass between us, and I can't get far enough back away from that glass. I was just so uncomfortable. I'm like, yo, man, what you doing? What you doing here, Punk Tattoo Guy? This don't look good. Spent the entire visit talking about ex-girlfriends that I was hopeful that he would go home and try to contact for me. This really struck me kind of messed up. When I went back from the visit, there was somebody else in the visit from my cell block when I was in there. And they went back before me. So when I got back into the housing unit or into the cell block, everybody was just like, dude, Joe, boy, who was that though? And don't try to tell me that your ex-boss or your brother. That man's t-shirt was so tight. He was aerodynamic up and he thought he was like Lance Armstrong up in that money. I said, hey, look, it was just a friend. I never heard from Punk Tattoo Guy again. I probably even wrote him a letter. I can't remember. I was 18 years old, but I want to say I probably wrote him a letter and was like, yo, that wasn't right what you did to me right there. Did you look that chick up? I wish I remembered that guy's name because overall he was a genuinely good dude. And I've got no idea whatever happened to him, but I do hope that things turned out okay for him. The next person to make this list is somebody that we've talked about quite a bit here on After Prison Show. I've actually got a picture of this person. I hope I've got this picture. I got to go dig this up. It's an old mug shot that I found of this person, but when I run across this, I mean, it brings back a lot of memories of the time that I served with this person by the prison nickname Peaches. You know, this was one of the biggest dudes locked up. Not like muscle bound or anything like that, but he was a tall, big dude. And, you know, nobody wanted no parts of this dude Peaches. He was definitely really out there with his sexuality, which, to each their own, had, you know, a few different relationships that were going on up inside of the prison. And I don't know what was more interesting, Peaches himself or the people that he would be in a relationship with, because some of those folks were some real weirdos. But Peaches was definitely an interesting person. I can only imagine, and I don't know for sure, but I felt like Peaches had been down for years. And, you know, he was doing his time and he didn't care what nobody thought of him. You know, this was a person who was not scared to fight. If you disrespected this dude, you weren't gonna say nothing crazy about this dude and expect him to just let that slide. Peaches definitely played by that respect card. And if you ain't respect him, he was gonna let them hands fly. Bing, 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 boom. And I'm not gonna go any further, even though we've talked about this in the past. You'd have to hunt through 1,000 plus After Prison Show videos, but there's somebody who we featured here on this channel, and it wasn't me, who actually had an altercation with Peaches and literally had to cop a plea. Meaning, hey, look, I don't want no problems, you got it. Peaches was getting super loud with this person, and I was sitting right there watching all this take place. You might be like, damn, Joe, why ain't you try to help? Because it wasn't that type of party. We wasn't no blood gang or nothing like, I mean, yo, that's a one-on-one situation right there. And to be honest with you, what the hell was I gonna do? If I got involved with it, Peaches probably would have whooped both of us. And also, I'll mention this too. If it was me in that situation, I'd have copped the plea too. You got to. Because copping a plea is nowhere near as bad as getting your hind parts whooped by Peaches. You'll never live that down. And again, you know, we've talked about this guy quite a bit here on After Prison Show, and, you know, I believe that he got out of prison this year, or maybe late last year, I can't remember. But I remember, oh hell, I'm gonna have to do some research on this. I wish I could find this guy. From time to time, I will type in his name on like Facebook or Inmate Locator trying to see if he's still locked up. And I think the last time that I looked, no information popped up, neither on Inmate Locator or on Facebook. But I want to say that I'm pretty sure he got released. And I'm telling you right now, if I ever get the opportunity to feature Peaches on this channel, best believe we're going to do a storage unit together. Oh, that would be something. The next person to make this list is a guy that was nicknamed Delicious. Now, I know what this video is shaping up to look like, and I don't want you to think that. I mean, these are definitely some interesting folks that I met while locked up, and not everybody on this video is gay. But these first three people definitely were important and interesting in their own regard. And Delicious, this guy that was nicknamed this, Big D, also known as, was super important as well, because Delicious was somebody that I was locked up with back in 2009, I believe. No, 2010. I was just getting ready to go to prison during this time. And been in the jail for 25 months. This was the last cellie that I had in the jail. And I will never forget, been in this jail 25 months. I'm a convict already. I got 5 years left to serve. I'm going to prison. You know, I was on a whole different type of time back during that time, and I ended up with no cellie. I can't remember who my cellie was prior to Delicious, but I had an empty cell. I had the only empty cell in the housing unit, and all of a sudden walks in Delicious. Now, anytime you got an empty bunk in your cell, that's an irritating time, or maybe a stress-filled time, or a little bit of anxiety-filled time, because you never know who you're gonna get. And when I saw this dude Delicious walk up, walk with a purpose, I guess is a better way to put it, up into the housing unit, I was like, oh, damn. There go my new cellie right there. And that dude is big. Big D, AKA Delicious. When this dude came into the housing unit, of course, everybody was laughing. Oh, Joe, look at your new cellie right there. And you know, that's uncomfortable at that. And then, you know, I don't even want to go into my cell. I don't want to make no introductions. Like, I feel very uncomfortable about the situation. I had never been locked up in a cell with a gay person. And again, nothing wrong with that, but, you know, there's these stigmas and this, it's jail, it's prison. These things, they're there. They are very there. And, you know, until you experience them, you don't know how you're going to experience them. I guess is the best way to word this. But when this guy came up into my cell, I stayed out of the cell all the way until lockdown. And when we locked down, like, I was super uncomfortable. But we began talking. Hey, my name's Joe. They call me Delicious. Wow. We had a very real conversation right off the top. Delicious told me he didn't like white guys. And I was like, whoo, thank God, because you were huge. But he did tell me that I was cute, so I appreciated that. And we became good friends. I actually had a lot of respect for this guy, Delicious, and he was a really solid person. Like, this was a person that I could bid with. I could trust this person. He kept what he was doing, for the most part, up out of the cell. I think he did. God only knows what was going on in there when I was doing tattoos and other cells. Okay, my cellie gone, though. But he did end up with a little bit of a friendship with another guy in the housing unit. And this was a really weird situation, too, because this was like the alpha male. This was the Lion King, basically. And this guy became very, very close with Delicious. How close, I don't want to know. But, you know, there were many times I would go up in the cell and, you know, Delicious was braiding dude's hair. And I'm just like, man. But it was okay. I had no issue with it. I knew I was getting ready to go to prison anyways. I was like, man, this is my last hoorah up in here. And boy, what a way to leave the jail, I guess. Delicious was an all right person. And the reason why this person was so interesting to me is because, again, this was my first encounter having a cellmate like this. And again, there was nothing wrong with that, but it definitely took some getting used to. And once I experienced that, it was okay. And all the laughs and all of the, I guess, immaturity that takes place up inside of a jail or prison, you know, well, you either let that roll off your skin or you react to that. When I left and I went to prison, I left Delicious everything. I had to leave bright and early in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. Guerrero, pack your shit, you're going to prison. Yeah, when I left, I tapped on his big linebacker shoulder. Hey, Big D, I'm leaving. You can have all my stuff. Good luck to you. I can't remember exactly what this guy was locked up for, but I remember it was a Fed case. Wish I knew his name. Hell, it might not even have began with a D. And if I did, I would look him up, but I don't. And just like with everybody else that I've mentioned thus far, you know, I hope wherever this guy ended up at, he's doing okay. And again, with him having a Fed charge, I hope they didn't smoke his boots too bad. Because the feds, they do not play. Moving on to the fourth person to make this list, this was one of my favorite people while locked up. An old bunkie of mine from the very last prison that I was at, a guy that I've talked about a little bit here on After Prison Show, a dude with the nickname Sunshine. Real name, K. Weaver. What an interesting fella this guy ended up being. Me and old K. Weaver were nothing alike. I was, for the most part, kind of wide open in prison, and Weaver was more reserved. Definitely, you know, I was an extrovert. He was definitely an introvert. He was very religious. I, didn't even have a Bible in prison, as bad as that sounds. I know it sounds horrible. Kenny was, definitely didn't have commissary. I was making tons of commissary, plus I had a good hustle. So with the fact that Kenny was my bunkie, Sunshine, he was my bunkie. I looked out for Kenny. He would help cook meals. He would cook the meals. I would provide the bacon on the table. I'm bringing home the bacon. Kenny was cooking it. We were sort of like a married couple in prison, except not that type of party. But I like this guy. Helped him get a pen pal. I remember that situation. One reason why Kenny was so interesting to me is because he had two chin strap tattoos. On one side it said God's gift, and on the other side it said I am what I am. I used to always crack jokes with Kenny about that tattoo, saying, what the hell does that even mean? Well, I am what I am. Well, what the hell are you? Oh, you're a person. Okay, I thought, I had a really cool picture of me and, actually it was not, it was a very cringe picture of me and Kenny while locked up. I don't know if I've got that picture still, but I remember I drew a caricature of him, and I hope I'm able to find that and include that in this video. This was a guy that I really wanted to get out and connect with and just, keep up with at the very least. He was from a whole different part of the state than where I'm from. So the chances of us actually being able to link up out in the free world, I don't know why, was probably slim to none. I remember a couple of years ago, the only contact that I had with this guy after getting released from prison was during the Super Bowl, New England versus Atlanta. What was it, 28-3 at halftime? This dude was hitting me up on Facebook talking so much smack. But that second half though, man, I don't think that's ever been done before. And I'm not talking about the greatest comeback ever. I'm talking about Atlanta even being in the Super Bowl. No disrespect to any ATL fans out there, but y'all was some Paducah. Kenny was also an interesting person to me for the fact that he was just super humble. He liked to play sports. He played a lot of basketball. He played softball. He was really good at softball. I was horrible at softball. I played basketball, and I always wanted to be a point guard. I'm like 6'4". I thought I was like Steph Curry out there. Fade away, straight dud ball. They always wanted me to post up in the paint like Shaq. I couldn't dunk, and I definitely weren't the biggest dude, and dudes will tractor you. They will straight truck you. It's like football on the blacktop is what it is. Prison basketball. But I mentioned the sports because one thing that I'll never forget about Kenny was this time I played a lot of soccer. You guys know that. That was my drop in prison. And we needed a goalie. We didn't have a goalie. We had a game coming up, and we tried to get Kenny to be the goalie. He couldn't play soccer, but I said, hey, look, all you got to do is stop a ball. And we got a hockey net. We don't even got a full-size soccer goal. We were playing, I think we were practicing before the game, seeing if Kenny was any good. And he was stopping everything. Boom, 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 boom. And then all of a sudden he got hit in the face with this straight free kick. I mean, this thing came in at 100 miles an hour. I thought it killed my bunkie. Thank God he was okay, but it was a hell of a story. I mean, this joint took him slam off of his feet, damn near out of his shoes. Actually, I think he did lose one of his shoes because he didn't even have a pair of tennis shoes. He had a pair of old Forrest Gump boots, which are kind of like what the prison boots look like. Next person making this list coming in at number 5. I mentioned this at the beginning of the video talking about when I went to the hole and Punk Tattoo Guy wrote me. Very interesting person, somebody I will never forget because they knocked the life out of me. Closest I ever came to getting knocked out in prison or jail. I'm a big dude. It'd take a lot to knock me out. You can knock me down. You can damn near knock me out. But this person that I'm talking about, Tyson. Tyson was by far the worst person, the worst mistake that I ever made in jail. Should have never invited him to that cooler up inside of the jail kitchen. We were both working as trustees during this time, and we were bunkies as well. This was such an awkward situation in the end, though. Oh, this was awkward. But we were both working as trustees. We worked on the line crew. We put the food in the tray. That's what our job was. I put the chuck wagon in the tray. Tyson put the vegetables on the tray, maybe the lids. Hell, I don't remember. And the first thing that struck me peculiar about Tyson, this was his nickname too. So, again, you got a nickname Tyson? We ain't talking about no chicken. We're talking about Mike Tyson. That's who he was nicknamed after. The first thing that struck me as peculiar is how soft of a voice this guy had. Hey, what's going on? My name's Tyson. And I'm like, damn, they call you Tyson? No. We became cool. And we became so cool, and we were both young back during this time, and we used to laugh and joke a lot while working. And I used to make fun of this dude, and he'd make fun of me, and then, one thing that they say is joking can go way too far. It's not a good idea to be playing while you're locked up, and this was a perfect example of why. Tyson would end up saying something to me that would make me mad. My rebuttal would be something even meaner. Oh yeah, well you talk like... I don't know what you talk like. Put some bass in your voice. And I think that right there was something that he probably heard quite a bit throughout his life, and he was not happy about that. So he started talking trash to me, and I'm 18-year-old little pistol starter out there. You can't tell me nothing. I don't care if you about to knock me out. God, I was dumb back then. I invited Tyson into the cooler, and boy, he whooped my ass. I'll never forget going up into that cooler and him telling me, Joe, just shut the door. Joe, just shut the door. I was worried we were going to get locked in the cooler. I went and I shut the door, and no sooner than I shut that door, I turned back around and boom! I didn't know where I was. Now, to be fair, Tyson did sucker punch me, and I'm no fighter for sure, but had he not sucker punched me and I slipped because I'm wearing these big dumbass rain boots that you wore on Trustee, maybe I'd at least have gotten like one hit in. I ain't getting nothing. That first hit knocked me down, and then there was haymakers raining down on me. Bloom, 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 bloom. This joint was like a rock'em sock'em. I think I was begging for my life, telling him to stop. I'm not even saying that being funny. I mean, I was telling him to stop. Eventually he did. I was still conscious, but I was messed up. Walked up into that bathroom out of that kitchen. I'm leaking blood everywhere. Cleaned up my face, went back on the line, acted like nothing happened, and everybody was telling me, Joe, boy, you better tell them people you sick. You can't be out here working like that. Do you know? I mean, I was lumped up, bloody and all. But I got away with that. I was able to hide my face from the authorities for like a good solid week. They're coming by doing count, keeping my head down out of the way. But eventually somebody told. Because when you're on Trustee, it is cutthroat. And when you start off in that tray room and you want to be putting the food on the tray, you're going to tell. Somebody told on me that my face was lumped up. They came, they got me, they took me to the hole. They said, who did this to you? I said, I don't know. I slipped and I fell. I ended up in the hole. Well, they didn't just tell on me. They told on him too. He thought I told on him. We would end up seeing each other later on. And I was like, look, man, I'm TTG. I called you out. I'm not going to tell on you. Thankfully, he believed that because I couldn't afford another one of them ass whoopings. Crazy thing about the whole situation is I would run into Tyson again years later. And this time he was sitting in the jail. We were both back in jail. I think I had 6 months for a probation violation. He was sitting in there facing a boatload of time, which he ended up getting. And he's still locked up right now. I know he comes home in the next couple of years. I even reached out to him one time via email, but I never reached back out to him again. But wouldn't it be something to be able to get this dude on After Prison Show? Definitely. One of the most interesting people that I ever met while locked up. Oh, and real quick to mention this about Kenny too. I forgot to mention this. Kenny's locked back up as well. And I don't know for what. I don't even think he's got a release date on his time, but I think he's at a level 2. So I think I remember seeing that. So I would imagine he's got a couple of years left, but it's sad. When you meet these people while locked up and some go home, you never hear from them again, and some go home, get locked up again. I just hope, the best for everybody, that they get a chance to get back out here, even if it's the 3rd, 4th, 2nd chance, and they can do it right this time. Even Tyson, who whooped my ass. Next up, Coffee Man. We've been talking about Coffee Man for 5 years here on After Prison Show, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on this. Definitely one of the most interesting people I ever met. A guy whose addictive mentality took him to the extremes, even for some Keefy coffee. But a hustler, nonetheless. I mean, this dude, even though he was a coffee junkie, he never went without. And if he did, he did not have no shame in his game. Joe, can I get a cup of coffee? Didn't I just give you 4 cups of coffee 2 hours ago? Coffee Man was a relatively okay dude. We did the Coffee Man Challenge where he drank a whole bag of Keefy coffee. We're talking 4 ounces of coffee in less than an hour. That's like 20-something cups. He did it. He won 2 bags of coffee. And the sad thing about Coffee Man is, which is also interesting too, is, you meet certain people while locked up that you just feel like they don't stand a chance when they get back out here. Sadly enough, Coffee Man was one of those people that I thought that, man, this dude ain't gonna be able to get out here and get beyond the addiction. And I didn't even know what his addiction was like in the free world, but I could just tell it had to be severe just by the way that it was with the coffee. I mean, for God's sakes, his nickname was Coffee Man. Sadly enough, Coffee Man ended up getting locked back up again down in Mississippi, of all places, with a bunch of robbery charges. And I think he's got at least like 10, 20, 15 years, somewhere in that wheelhouse. Very sad situation right there. And I think to myself, what if when he gets out, does he stand a chance? What's he gonna do? That's still a lot of time left to serve. Number 7 on this list was probably one of the greatest stories that I've ever told here on After Prison Show. One of the funniest fights that I ever saw in prison. And when I listed number 7, I didn't know which one to use, Ernie or CB. So I guess I'll just kind of talk about the both of them together. I met both of these guys at the same exact time. They were both older gentlemen and both annoying as hell. Ernie was on Thorazine, so he did the Thorazine shuffle every time at 7 o'clock when they came through for pill call. After 7 o'clock, Ernie was like a walker from The Walking Dead. But during the day, he was sort of like a old-ass, broke-down Darius Ruckers. That's who he reminded me of. And he was kind of funny, too. Ernie would just, fly off the handle with some old random stuff. And especially at his friend, kind of, CB. Another older guy who was definitely kind of annoying and definitely had a lot of larceny with him. I'll never forget the first time that I met CB and, just getting to talking to him. Hey, come here, young blood. Come here, young blood. Hey, let me holler at you. You already know that's the beginning of some BS that you're about to hear. But him and Ernie used to go at it all the damn time. And a lot of times it would be funny, but sometimes it would just be annoying as hell. CB complained about everything. Ernie did as well. I mean, everybody complains about everything in prison, so that wasn't too unique. But that damn fight them two got into, fast friends, how all of that can just change behind a little argument behind some coffee, if I can remember correctly. Damnedest thing. And for those of you who don't remember me talking about this story, I just want to include this little clip right here. A little bit of the Ernie and CB scuffle. CB, I told you all want to do nothing but use me for my coffee. I ain't giving you nothing else. What you talking about, Ernie? Talking about how to be using you for your coffee. You ain't got nothing. You just a little crack monster motherfucker from the mountain. I'm a crack monster. Look at you, motherfucker. Your lips more chapped than you been sucking on a goddamn bottle of baby powder. Oh, that's it, goddamn Ernie. You want to talk to me like that? And from there, things escalated into the funniest damn fight I had ever seen while locked up. Sorry. I was feeling like Tom Cruise right there of the internet. I know a YouTuber can't get an Emmy, but that reenactment right there, if ever a YouTube video deserved one, that reenactment right there, I think is priceless. Number 8 on this list, very crazy situation right here, very interesting. One of my old prison pen pals, as a matter of fact. I had to include this guy on this list, a guy nicknamed Google, who I first met back in 2009, I believe, while sitting in the jail. Locked up, I see this guy on the news at first. Very high profile home invasion charge, him and 2 other people. Went up into some older woman's house, duct taped her or something, supposedly beat her up. Stole a toaster oven, VCR, a bunch of nothing. This was a drug-fueled situation that took place. And, this kid, he was a little bit younger than me. I was 25. He was 23, I think. Super tall, super lanky. Comes in, and he is a target immediately. Not only for, taking advantage of him. He didn't have anything as it was. Wasn't making commissary, nothing like that. But he was a target for, jailhouse snitches, people trying to give some time back. I took this guy up under my wing a little bit, and you're probably thinking, damn, Joe, why would you do that? What this guy did was heinous. And you might not agree with what I'm getting ready to say. But you know what? I kind of felt bad for this guy. What he did was horrible. Don't get me wrong. What he did was horrible, but I knew without even knowing at the time, he was going to get his boots smoked. And after getting to know him and hearing about the addiction problem that he had with cocaine, I knew that the drugs caused this. He did this because of the drugs. And people do bad shit all the time. He was going to get what he deserved. He was definitely going to pay for what he did. And there were going to be some prisoners up in the jail who were going to definitely make sure that that happened as well. When he went to court, he had 6 jailhouse snitches testify against him. Some of which were even housed in our cell block. This was the craziest thing. And he never did anything about this. It was crazy because when the bars would lock at nighttime and prisoners are hooting and hollering, hey, turn it on to Slow Jams. Your girl up there, she just dedicated a song to Jody. Thought that was your girl. Dudes would be talking through the bars after lights out. And Google and me were talking about something, like his court date was upcoming. That's what it was. I said, Google, good luck, something along them lines. He was like, hey, I'm not worried about it. some kind of a way we brought up the jailhouse snitches, and he said something like, nobody's coming to court to testify against me. My lawyer would have told me. And then like one by one from all different cells, we heard, well, I'm coming to court to testify against you. Oh, everybody's laughing. Yeah, I'm coming to court to testify against you too. When Google went to court, and nothing about that was funny, when Google went to court, few people left that day too to go to court, and they didn't have no court date except for his. Google, this is why, and this is probably one of the most interesting people that I ever met, maybe the most, and this is why. I will never forget when Google got a plea deal or a plea opportunity for 25 years. He came back and he told me, he said, Joe, they just offered me 25 years. And I know, at least I try to believe that back during that time, I was telling him, you better take that deal. But even I didn't know how bad this was gonna be. And Google never took the deal. He went to court feeling like he could fight this charge and he could beat this charge. And ended up, instead of getting that 25-year plea deal, he ended up getting 209, 213 years, something like that. He'll never see the light of day again. And there's so much to his story that is just like so intriguing. You think about, you know, old law and new law. Old law, you did like 65% of your time and you were eligible for parole, or you could become eligible for parole. Well, new law, there is no parole. Unless they bring that back, he will never get out of prison. And here's another interesting thing about this is he got locked up around the same time I did, 2008. It's now 2020, so it's been 12 years since then. He's been locked up for almost half of what it could have been, that 25-year plea deal. And I know he has got to think about, damn, I should have just took the deal. And I think the thing that really kind of like bugs me about it is I think to myself, I'm like, man, I should have really tried to convince this dude, yo, just take this deal. 25 years, I know it's a quarter of a century, but now you got to do 2 centuries plus. Number 9 on this list. Couldn't make this video without including this person on it, Cherry.
When you're rolling with ball, Cherry, man, you know, it's always an extravagant occasion.
Cherry was such an interesting person for a number of reasons. One, he was super scary. A little bit of a bigger, stockier dude. Heard he slapped the guy up. I never saw that. Very crazy, talked to himself. Supposedly touched my Junie while I was asleep. Holding a full-blown conversation a day or a couple of days later about that. Talking about, yeah, I touched that white boy, but I was the only white boy. I didn't like this guy at all. There were, you know, a few people that I really just did not like. He was definitely one of them. Super annoying. You know, there was a lot of little rumors that he was, you know, he was a snitch. He would, and not like jumping on cases. We're already in prison now. You know, he would just go tell the guards, hey, you know, they're tattooing, shit like that. And I always didn't like people like that. This was a guy that was just really weird. And for the weirdness alone, and for the fact that he might have been the only person ever that I know of, it could have been others I wasn't aware of if I was asleep, whoever actually touched me in some kind of a weird way while locked up. But yeah, Cherry. Kind of interesting fella there. I'm gonna go ahead and move on. This is a super long video. I did not intend to make it this damn long. To the very final person making this list, number 10. And it's not a person, it's a group of people. And it's the Somalian pirates that I was locked up with between 2008 and 2010. I had never met, I mean, who has met some Somalian pirates? Never imagined that I would meet or be locked up in the same housing unit with these guys, this group of guys. And the crazy thing was, it wasn't just one group of Somalian pirates I was locked up with. I was locked up with 2 different sets, both during this time frame. And the first set really are the most interesting. I can't remember too much about the second set, but the first set, you know, these guys came in, they didn't speak any English at all. They locked us all down to bring these guys in. They put everybody on the top floor of the cell block, and they gave them all single cells on the bottom floor. These were federal prisoners. The jail was getting a boatload of money to house these guys here. And the first thing that was so interesting, aside from the fact that they didn't speak any English, was they were all messed up. One guy missing a leg, one guy's face looked like Two-Face from Batman. Like, these dudes got hit by a missile. Okay, they came and shot at a Navy frigate ship, thinking that it was some sort of a cargo ship. A helicopter took off, chased their ass down, shot a missile, and blew them up in the water. They scooped these dudes up. They had them on the ship, and they didn't speak English. They spoke like French or something, like, you know, aside from their native language, they spoke, I think, French. And they were able to communicate with one prisoner in the cell block who spoke French as well, who they were talking about their case with. Now, you gotta imagine, these guys don't speak English. They ain't getting no type of legal representation. Yeah, what they did, yeah, it was bad. But they don't understand nothing. They don't understand nothing. And I remember part of the conversation about their case was, you know, when they were getting interrogated on the ship, you know, they were hearing things like, you know, we're gonna feed you to the sharks, or we're gonna feed you to the fish, or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but they were taking this like literally, and maybe it was meant literally. But it was a really crazy situation being locked up with these guys. They really did not like me for no other reason other than I was a white guy. And that's being real. I was the only white guy in there. But you know what's crazy is by the end of it, they actually liked me. And here's why. Because these guys weren't dumb. You know, they come from poverty. And, you know, this was their way of life. And, you know, whether it's right or it's wrong, this is what they do. But and even with the language barrier, they were able to pick up on the fact that, you know, there were snitches. Everybody was snitching. And the way that they were able to pick up on the situation was because, you know, they were sharing their case with prisoners who were supposedly trying to help them. And some of their paperwork came up missing. And when they realized that paperwork came up missing, yo, these dudes banded together and they were ready to put it down in this housing unit. I'll never forget one of these snitching pieces of junk coming up to me. You know, I'm in the cell, rapping, drawing, tattooing. I can't remember what I'm doing. He's like, Joe, come here. Come over to the rail. Look down here. I walked to the rail. These dudes were banded up down there. They were ready for war. And I was like, yo, what's going on? And, you know, even with them not being able to communicate, they were holding up their paperwork and pointing at paperwork on the table like, you know, where's the rest of our case at? Dude that was telling me to come to the rail, he was a snitch. He was one of them who was in on this. And he was laughing about this, giggling like a little girl. You know, piracy carries, I think, life. Don't know whatever happened to them guys, but I'm sure they got their boots smoked. Pretty crazy. Hey, look, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was a super long video, and if you did so, please leave a like and a comment letting me know exactly what you thought about this. As always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world. Never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day. Peace!
Realize the movie that I was watching, it's the end of the